Anin, Bojo, Sarah Hazel Diginicas, Nabizing Donjaba. Hello and welcome. My name is Sarah Hazel and I'm from Nipissing First Nation. Today I'm going to be talking to you about recommended data collection procedures for locating unmarked graves using historic human remains detection dogs. For our comprehensive guides and other videos, please visit the Canadian Archaeological Association's website. Unmarked graves investigations can bring up distressing content, and it is important to take care of yourself mentally and emotionally while doing this work. Please make sure you have health supports in place, or you can call one of the numbers on this slide if you are feeling triggered and you can speak to a health professional. And I'll just leave this up for a moment. Historic human remains detection dogs, HERDs, are trained to detect the scent of old human bones and teeth. Their skills and training are similar to that of human remains detection dogs, which are used in police work. While human remains detection dogs search for people who are recently deceased, HERDs target older remains that produce much lower scent levels because the soft tissue has decomposed. They will not alert on animal remains because they are specifically trained to scent on human remains. They can search for both surface remains and buried remains and can reliably detect very small amounts of human decomposition odor. While there are only a few published studies evaluating the effectiveness of HERDs in locating unmarked burials, they suggest that the dogs are able to detect remains as deep as 1 to 2 meters deep, and that under certain conditions, they can reliably detect human remains on sites upwards of 1,500 years old to within a few meters. While the specific chemicals, volatile organic compounds, the dogs are scenting are debated, a handful of studies indicate good success rates for dogs trained to alert on dry human remains, although they also indicate caution is required because another study noted 20 to 70% false positives. The human compounds that dogs are scenting disperse through the ground following the path of least resistance. Their route can be influenced by vegetation, erosion, water seepage, etc. Dogs will alert where the scent is strongest, which may not align exactly with the location of the buried remains. The dogs are therefore useful for identifying general areas for further investigation using other techniques such as GPR and test pitting. Further studies are needed to provide guidance on how big a surrounding area should be investigated. It is estimated that dog alerts are generally within 3 to 4 meters of a grave. Studies suggest that the ability of the dogs to detect scent and to work comfortably is reduced in very cold and very hot temperatures. High humidity, wind, and heavy rainfall can also reduce the probability of detecting a scent, as will thick grasses and heavy vegetation. If survey is conducted in the hot summer months, it should take place in the early morning before the heat of the day or in the evening as temperatures cool off. Survey is not recommended when the ground is frozen. It is very important to have at least 2 and ideally 3 different dogs participating in the survey. The dog and handler teams should all work independently so they do not see where other dogs alert. This is known as a blind search. Ideally, the dogs will also work with different handlers so that handlers will not be aware of where the other dogs have alerted, known as a double-blind search. If at least 2 dogs alert on a particular area, it should be investigated using GPR and/or test pitting. Dog and handler teams must be certified. It's best for the dogs to wear a GPS tracker so that the area covered is mapped out and the handlers can then review their tracks to ensure that the entire search area has been covered. Dogs need frequent breaks while surveying and generally work 20 minutes on and 20 minutes off when working in tight grids, which is recommended in this case. Practices of individual trainers may vary. Individual trainers should be consulted for estimates of how much ground their team can cover in a single day. It should be easy to survey the identified areas in the priority zone in a single day. However, the parties may wish to bring in a team to survey both the priority zone and the rest of the site in a single visit rather than having them travel twice. We recommend that any herd team be accompanied throughout the survey by the archaeologist leading the monitoring work, who can help them identify the different areas for survey and record the precise location of any areas of interest identified by the dogs. A differential GPS or precise reference to the geo-rectified aerial photos would be the best way to record these spatial locations. For any locations where 2 or more dogs alert, we recommend mechanically stripping the topsoil and manually cleaning an area covering a 5-meter radius around the point identified by the dogs. This should be done under the direction of an archaeologist with experience identifying burials. The cleaned area should be carefully observed, and if any anomalies akin to a burial are visually identified, they should be investigated through units excavated by hand and fully screened. Should a burial be identified, work should stop immediately and proper steps be taken to ensure the protection of the remains, while the appropriate course of action is determined by local Indigenous communities. Miigwech, thank you for joining me for this presentation on historic human remains detection dogs in locating unmarked graves. Take care.